Hi, I'm going to take you through the opportunities section within the super admin settings. So that's super admin options down to options, and then click on opportunities, fifth one down. So enforce opportunity feedback. So you know that when volunteers go to log their hours for the first time on an opportunity, they can leave feedback. They can also add feedback later on, but it's kind of enforced. Well, it can be enforced the first time that they go to log their hours, meaning that they can't log hours until they've left some feedback. And feedback's usually thank you messages, as you're probably aware. But if you want that enforced, that's the option there for it. Allow volunteers to join overlapping sessions. So we know what a session is. A session is when the person needs to turn up for how long. If they join a session which goes from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock, then they try and join another session which starts at 2 o'clock, should it allow them to do that? Because obviously they can't be in both places at once. Required gap between consecutively joined sessions. So this is more for if you're using it for events, and something that you might say, okay, well, if someone's doing a session from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock, should they be able to join a different opportunity, a different session at starting at 3 o'clock? They know they've only ended the previous one at 3 o'clock. Obviously, they've got zero time then to get from one place to another. This may not be a problem, or it may be a problem. But if it is going to be a problem, you can specify how many minutes gap they need to have between their sessions that they join. Enable opportunity chat rooms. So probably maybe aware of this, that every opportunity has its own mini chat room that volunteers can talk to each other about the opportunity. They can also talk to the provider of that opportunity, and obviously administrators, you can always join in with that conversation if you so choose. Allow providers to create quick opportunities. So quick opportunities, I mean, you can look this up, but essentially it's an opportunity where we ask them minimal information. I think there's like 5 fields of information, absolute bare minimum. Obviously, it means you're not capturing as much information about the opportunity and what they're going to be doing. But if you want to allow providers to create those quick opportunities, then you can choose it here. I should say it's often used for like large organizations who may want to utilize your volunteer workforce for recruitment purposes. So you might say, okay, then rather than creating your opportunity on your system, your large system, and then creating a whole another opportunity on our system, I'd rather just create a quick opportunity on our system and just recruit my volunteers, and then you can get them to kind of not migrate them over, but get them to re-register on your external system. So volunteer centres sometimes use it if they deal with these kind of large organisations or large charities. Show extended opportunity creation details. I have to worry about that. Just how it's visible within the opportunity when you're creating the opportunity, how the fields, the visibility of the fields. We've also got use references. So you may be aware we have a fully integrated reference system. I'm just saying, well, are you going to use it? Should we see those options when you're creating an opportunity? Should you be able to specify that it requires at least 2 references, for example, or do you want to switch it all off? Use criminal check options. Similar to the references, if you use criminal check options, you can hold that information within the system. And when you create opportunities, you could say, well, this opportunity requires only volunteers who have a criminal record check, which is in date. But you can only do that if you've switched the criminal check options on. Show criminal check options to providers. So you might say, okay, I want to use criminal checks, but when I'm creating the opportunity as an administrator, I only want myself to be able to create opportunities which require a criminal record check. I don't want providers to be able to do that, in which case you change the option there. Show induction options to providers. So remember, these are not inductions onto the opportunity. These are generic inductions onto the system. So if when you're onboarding volunteers onto your system when they first register, do you have a generic induction process where you phone them up, or they sit down with you and you kind of go through what's expected of them, etc. And if they do, once you go for that, if you do have a generic induction process, then you have the ability to mark volunteers down as yes, they've been inducted. Now, that's fine because you can create opportunities then. And you can say this opportunity, I'm only allowing people on this opportunity who have been inducted. Okay, what this is saying is, should you allow providers to be able to do that? Should providers be able to create an opportunity which is only available to volunteers who have been through your generic induction? Okay. Limit place lookup. So this is, you can specify when volunteers are putting in locations like their address, for example, or someone's entering in the address of an opportunity, should it look for addresses right across the world, or should it be looking for addresses in specific countries? And that's where you can define which countries in there. Auto restrict opportunities to induction required. So we mentioned before what inductions are. So should you automatically make every opportunity require the volunteers to have been through that generic induction? Okay, you can change it, but it's saying should it automatically kind of default it to yes, they need an induction. Auto restrict opportunities to criminal check required. It's the same thing. It's saying, well, you can have criminal checks turned on, but should it be set to yes or no? Should it automatically require every volunteer to have a criminal check or not? Allow opportunities to be pinned. So this is to do with whether an opportunity is pinned to the top of the search results. So if you've got an opportunity you need to fill in a hurry, you might pin it to the top of the search results, which means every volunteer, regardless of where their location is, they will always see that opportunity at the top. If you do pin opportunities, make sure you unpin them, because otherwise they'll sit at the top of everyone's search results for a long until you unpin them. Enable post opportunity uploads. So when you can add files to an opportunity that volunteers can download. This is saying, should you enable volunteers to be able to upload files back onto that opportunity? For example, you might say, okay, I'm going to add a health and safety form to an opportunity, but then maybe if you could allow the volunteers to complete it and re-upload their completed application form, their completed health and safety form back onto the same opportunity. Okay, which means that before they've even turned up, you can go to the opportunity, you can see everybody's completed health and safety form. So it can be useful, that one. Enable post-opportunity surveys. So when they go to log their hours, do you want the ability to require them to, or ask if they can complete a survey or not, whether it's SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or something like that. Default minimum opportunity age, it's kind of self-explanatory. So as I said, we have minimum ages when volunteers register, absolute minimum ages, but we also have minimum ages on opportunities. Now, if you have a minimum age on an opportunity, okay, it may be slightly different. You might say, well, this is a minibus driver and I want them to be at least 25 years old. So you can make it different to the minimum age to register on the system. The opportunity is 25. To register on the system, you only need to be 18, for example. So what this is saying is, by default, what should the opportunity minimum age be? Okay. Share to link-wide network default. So when you create opportunities, you know that we can link systems together into networks, so you can create opportunities and kind of broadcast them or share them across other systems who are within that network. You're saying, well, what do you want the default setting to be? Do you want it by default, when you create an opportunity, to automatically share it with other systems, with that wider network? Or do you want it to kind of say no, where you say, okay, unless I manually change it, just only make it visible for volunteers on my system? And last but not least, enable opportunity sharing to national partners. So we have national systems, Try Volunteering system being the main one, where you can share your opportunity on that national system. So volunteers who've registered on that national system can see and join your opportunity. Now, obviously, you've got to keep in mind that they've not gone through the same onboarding process as your volunteers. But if you do want to do that, and if you're happy with that and you don't mind, kind of more the merrier, regardless of their onboarding process, then you can switch that to yes, which means that you could share it with, when you create the opportunity, it says, do you want to share it with the national systems like tryvolunteering.com? And it will appear, the opportunity will appear on that system. So hopefully that's useful. Thank you.